stand tall in the face of tyranny. I want it all on my freedom and liberty. I'll keep my guns, you can keep your security. I'll stand tall in the face of tyranny. I'll stand tall in the face of tyranny. I want it all on my freedom and liberty. I'll keep my guns, you can keep your security. I'll stand tall in the face of tyranny.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. A big, huge welcome to this, the Freaky Friday edition of the Kev Baker Show and the Freedom Link and Down the Rabbit Hole, all rolled into one. So tonight it's myself, Joe Joseph, Popeye, Marty, Johnny King, a bit later than usual, but better late than never. So, Joe, how are you doing, man, after leaving me hanging there with bloody intro music again?
I couldn't help it.
Every
I
week,
saw,
man.
I saw the message. Yeah, who's bringing it in? Joe. And I'm like, yeah. Brain lock, dude. Sorry.
Absolutely unbelievable. So,
but I'm here now.
Like I was saying to the listeners out there, joined by Popeye, Johnny King, Martin, Joe Joseph, and for the first segment tonight, we've got a really special treat for you out there. Tonight, we're going to be talking about ISIS and the eschaton and how it all fits together. But first up, we're joined by the one and only Chris Geo, and he is going to be floating, or should I say, flatting a theory by you in just a moment. But before we get there, let's go to my good friend and co-host, Big Marty. How are you doing, man?
Hey, how's it going, guys? You all right?
Absolutely fantastic. Looking forward to hearing what Mr. Geo has got to say. But before we get there, Marty, do you want to do the honours in the chat room?
Yeah, 51 in the chat room so far, so thanks for tuning in at truefrequencyradio.com. Your support is appreciated. One of two, Choice Bro, Dr. Blues, Green Pill, Hell Yeah, Kinetic, Nightshade, Peloton, Penelope, Robbie DMC, Time Lord, Tim Bird, Stushi, Angel Whispers, Den Oldham, Mitty Boosh, Fishtails, Harold, Meat Dog, Who, Mystical Fairy, Wotan, Steve, Natasha, Nephilim Number 1, John Titter, Tramp's Pocket, Kevin John, Knightley, Krazza Tricky, Glenn, Resistance, Popeye, Silverman, Cloud, Alpha Dog, Berlin Cockney. Nice one, you nearly got me there. Tiny Clanger, Mac, Welsh Ted, Angry Scouse, Jim, PRC News, Browsing Monkey, Anon, Mr. Moon, Bio Zombie, Mike, Dorico, Russell Brand, Angel Whispers, Equilibrium, and Fag Paper. So thanks very much for tuning in this evening.
54 in the chat for the Freaky Friday. So let's get into this, folks. Let's waste no more time. Let's bring on Chris Geo. How are you doing, sir?
Doing great, doing great. I've been looking into something that a lot of people would laugh at, and I did.
Maybe think it's freaky, would you say?
It's very freaky, and so very appropriate for Freaky Friday.
Get the tinfoil out, folks. Here we go.
Yes. So, when I first heard about this idea, Donnie Gilson actually brought it up, and he said, hey, I've been looking into this, and I said, oh, you're crazy. But I don't know what prompted me to do this, but I started looking into the idea that we've been lied to about how our Earth actually is. And, I just want to put a little caveat out there. I don't necessarily believe any of this, but it's interesting nonetheless, and it's really made me take a couple of steps back and really rethink everything that we know about the way that or everything that we think we know about how our Earth actually functions. So, taking a big step back to the moon landing, the only photo that we have of Earth is from the moon landing. And what they did, and this is a piece of footage that NASA accidentally released. It's authentic footage. You can see all the astronauts, Buzz Aldrin, and the other ones, everybody else, Neil Armstrong, and all of them sitting in the cockpit, and they're talking to somebody who's not mission control in Houston, and they're talking about how to fake this shot of Earth, and what they're doing is taking a dark piece of construction paper or whatever it was that they were using to create a darkness around the window to make it look like it's the night and day transition of the Earth. And they tell Houston on this piece of film that they have the camera pushed up against the window, and all the darkness that you're seeing, the blackness around, is space. And they're filming this perfectly spherical ball that is the Earth. Now, the lights actually come on, accidentally come on, or either that, or I think they were transitioning to do another shot, and so they turned the cabin lights on during this piece of footage that they didn't even know was recorded, much less would be released. And you can see the cameras pushed way in the back, and they have this paper up against the window. And what you're actually seeing is them very, very close to the Earth, but they're using the roundness of the window to make it look like you're seeing actual Earth in space and that they're far, far away from it. As Popeye mentioned off air, this could be because of their official explanation, which was that the Van Allen radiation belt destroyed a lot of the footage, and so they had to, quote unquote, fake some of the footage in order to salvage some of the footage that had been destroyed. I don't know. But basically, we're dealing with people who have been proven liars over and over again, and who are not above faking events like this openly as well, and then trying to justify it later as to why they actually did it. So you start looking at everything from a different perspective when you start to realize that every single photo of Earth is essentially fake. They say that everything is a composite out there, or everything is computer-generated graphics that we see. There's not really a real picture of the Earth. Why is that? What these people's research that I've been looking into, and some would call them quote-unquote flat earthers, which actually was a term that's been used for a long time and has actually featured on the Illuminati card game, Illuminati card number 134, that actually gives points to the player who's using the flat earthers, because the flat earther theory is actually, according to the Illuminati card game, holds some weight, and so you actually get a power up by understanding that something is actually hidden more than meets the eye. It's very, very strange, but I say look it up for yourself and find out. But this started leading me down a completely different line of thinking, and then these people point, number one, to the UN flag. The UN flag is actually the map of not the round Earth, but the flat Earth. Why are they using a picture of the flat Earth? And this is the exact same picture that has been used for centuries when describing the Earth as being flat. So the United Nations, this is supposed to be the flag of the world, are using the flat Earth image. Now, we have the term globalist. Before, it used to be worldwide. It used to be, people of Earth. It used to be Earth. Now Earth is synonymous with hippy dippies and, it's earthy and it's this and that. And the term Earth and world has been changed to globalist. We talk about the globalists. It's a global distribution. It's global this, it's global that. The term globe has been reinforced into our minds over and over and over through repetition. Now, why is it that they've reinforced this idea of a globe? And why is it that they ridicule? And we've been told since the very beginning, we have to ridicule any kind of idea that Earth is anything but what they have told us it is. I mean, for instance, when you're going to school, the first thing they do is they show you a globe, and then they show you the countries, and then they show you the states, and they're like, color in all the states, and they reinforce it over and over and over again. This is how the world works. Well, the actual maps that we've been shown are not actually real. And this is proven. This isn't some kind of flat Earth conspiracy theory, but this is proven because you have something called the Peters projection map. The Peters projection map is actually an actual interpretation of the landmass on Earth. What the Western governments or monarchies have done is they've taken the structures, the shape of the countries, and they've made Europe a lot bigger. They've made North America a lot bigger. They've made South America a lot smaller. They've made Africa very, very small, which is the same shape as Greenland, for instance, when in actuality, Africa is like 10 times bigger than Greenland. And they've done this because the perception of size is also a perception of importance within our own minds. And so the maps that we've been shown from the very beginning, we know for a fact are false. And like I said, you can Google Peters projection map to get a real representation of what the landmass is. So these people have been proven liars over and over and over again, faking pictures of the Earth, no real images of the Earth. The Red Bull jump, where the guy went up in space and did a parachute jump from the sky, used a fisheye lens. And what this does is this curves the actual image. And Popeye had an explanation for this, but it curves the actual image. And this is apparent even when he comes down to the ground. You can see that they're using a fisheye lens because the ground is all of a sudden curved in the exact same way as the supposed Earth is when he's up over the horizon. You start looking from every perspective, flying in an airplane, for instance, and you always see the horizon flat. You always see everything flat. Everything is flat, 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 flat. If the Earth is as curved as they say it is, then within a matter of just a few miles, you would be able to see a very steep slope, but you don't. You can see for miles and miles. I think 9 or 10 miles is what the human eye can see, maybe more. I don't know if I have that fact 100% or not. But you look through any horizon and everything appears to be completely and totally flat. Now, the idea of a flat Earth, it is that all the continents reside right in the middle, and we're surrounded by this big ice barrier. So that leads me to the story of Admiral Byrd, who supposedly flew into the Hollow Earth. Maybe he didn't actually fly into the Hollow Earth, but what if, and I don't necessarily believe this, I'm just speculating here, what if he actually flew over that ice barrier and landed in another region, another set of land that exists beyond this barrier? And so if we're not actually floating around in space as we believe that we are, if like some of the other cultures, I want to say it was the Japanese, the early Japanese believed that we were living inside of a dome and we're actually seeing a projection like an LED screen up in the sky. They didn't explain it like that, but this is basically how our terms would explain this. It's a big projection in the sky. Then what exactly is this whole planet construct that we live in? Is this really a prison planet? Do we live in a matrix? I think a lot of people would say yes. They understand we live in a matrix. That we live, and maybe even in a computer simulation. What if this whole planet as well is like a soundstage, and we're not actually floating around in space, but rather we're in an aquarium somewhere, sitting in a warehouse? And I'm using this again for lack of a better example, but we've seen movies as well. I want to say Resident Evil, where she wakes up and she thinks she's in New York, or she thinks she's in Japan or some city like that. And she's actually sitting inside of a warehouse, and all these cities have been simulated within this big warehouse in the big umbrella facility. What if our planet is actually like that? Wouldn't that even reinforce the fact that we are living in a matrix and we really are in a prison planet? So what is this? Is this like an ant farm? Do the ants in an ant farm know that they're living in an ant farm? Can they see the observers from outside looking in on them? Or do they think that they're actually living in the ground and they're living in a natural environment, but that environment is actually artificial? That also takes me to the Freemasons too. And I don't mean to just keep going and going, but see, this train of thought has opened up so many different ideas. The Masons are the builders. What exactly did they build? What are they the architects of? What if they're the architects of the Matrix? Not, of course, Donnie Gilson or any of these other people, but the order which they
clarified.
The order which they follow. Where did it originate? Maybe they are the architects of this Matrix. Just some ideas that I've been looking into.
Wow, it's interesting you say that. Pop, you want to chime in, dude?
Oh, I just wanted to add something to what Chris was saying when he mentioned the fisheye thing. The reason why you use a fisheye lens up that high is because of the size of the Earth. The aspect ratio that a regular lens would capture it's just not going to work. It's going to throw the actual. If you were trying to get like a more realistic view of the planet, we'll say, from that high up because of the vastness in space and everything else, the aspect ratio of a regular non-fisheye lens will throw it off. And it would be better for the shot from that height to be a fisheye because of the curvature of the Earth and everything else. Okay, and there's a lot of technical details that you can get into. There's that, and there's one other thing I just want to throw out there to say that, look, the Earth, at least in my estimation, is round. Have you ever heard of something called the Coriolis effect, Chris?
The Coriolis effect.
Have you ever heard of it?
But explain it for the listeners that aren't familiar.
Well, it's the effect that the Earth's rotation, the spin of the Earth, actually has on a bullet if it travels over a long distance. So if like a sniper was going to shoot at something, we'll say like a mile away, for that that type of distance, he actually has to take into account the curvature and the spin of the Earth itself and the effect it will have on the round as it travels out of the barrel and downrange to the target. So I know that exists. I was a shooter. So I know firsthand that you do have to take things like that into account. That being said, if the Earth was flat, could a flat disk spinning around sideways and traveling up produce the same effect? I don't think so. I think it would have a different effect because of the way the spin is. If you actually think about it and you look at it, you can actually see that the arc and everything else goes in line with a sphere, not a flat disk spinning. It just I think it would be. I think it might have somewhat of the same effect, but I think it would be different. I don't think it would be exactly the same if it were a flat disk spinning and then traveling upwards. And
according to this theory, it's not spinning. According to the theory, it's stationary.
Well, then it definitely wouldn't even have the effect at all, and then you'd have to explain the Coriolis effect. So,
I'll look into that. That's a very good question. And, I'd like to get somebody that is much more knowledgeable on our show so we can ask them these type of questions and get their rebuttal.
Chris,
there's a book called The Atlantean Conspiracy that I haven't gotten to read yet because, like I said, I just started looking into this like 2 days ago. But according to that, and what's weird is that Alex Jones actually mentioned this. And he says, oh, yeah, I've been contacted by one of the flat earthers. They called it an Atlantean conspiracy. And I went, ooh, that sounds interesting. Let's look into that. So, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Kev.
No, do you know why I'm not going to dismiss this off cuff? Because I'm just sitting here thinking about it, and I've got nothing, me personally, that can prove my theory that it's round, and everything that I would reference to combat what you're saying, like you said, it comes from known liars. Scientific books. We know these people have lied to us. Now, that's not me saying that it's definitely flat or definitely round, but what I'm trying to tell the listeners is don't just dismiss it. Look at me with the whole fakery stuff. You have to keep an open mind to it.
Well, I really like to do some really good research into this and then maybe put a Kickstarter campaign out there to send a camera into space to actually film this.
If you could get a Kickstarter campaign to do something to talk about flat Earth at all, I am.
People have
I don't
done
have
that,
a lot
by
of
the
hope
way.
for humanity. I just don't. I just don't.
People have done this already. People have taken GoPros and they've attached them with
absolutely. You can see the
cell phone
curvature of
with
the
GPS.
Earth.
Yeah.
Good God! If you're a ham radio operator, you got to take into account the curvature of the Earth.
Have you ever been into an airplane and flown anywhere? Ever?
Yep.
Okay. Well, all you can do is look out the window while you're flying. Even at 30,000 feet, you can see the curvature of the Earth. In fact, you can see it a lot better because you can see how it curves and everything, and you can see space. Like you can see all the way up into the atmosphere, and you can even if you look, you can see where it starts to get dark.
And if
going out into space,
you've been a child and you have a telescope, there's special lenses you could fit on there to look at the sun. The sun, telescope. To me, it's not a projection. It's not small. It just doesn't fit. There's just too much common sense stuff out there that I'd have to be really convinced that they're messing with me on that level.
Well, where I started from, as Kev said, I started from zero. I said, okay, I'm going to forget about everything that I've been told.
You're just going to flush it all.
And yeah, exactly. Because as Kev said, and this is the point that I raised, these are known liars. So I'm not going to take the words of liars. Okay. I'm going to do my own research and look into this supposed phenomenon. But it's interesting nonetheless. And the big question comes back to mind. Why is the UN using the map of the flat Earth and not a globe? These people are supposed to be globalist. What is a globalist actually? Could it be, and again, I'm just throwing out an idea here, I don't necessarily believe this, but could a globalist be somebody who perpetrates the global conspiracy? Oh, wow.
That's deep.
Chris just knocked Kev right over. Kev's laying on his back right now in his chair, still just convulsing.
You see, this is why I listen to Geo and I just dismiss you.
Yeah, I know. Because then you start drooling on yourself. No,
I know.
John King, resident science expert, help me out here.
Well, people that have gone around the Earth in a hot air balloon can tell you that the Earth is round. And Popeye's right. You go up high enough, you can see the curvature of the Earth, the Coriolis effect. I think the people that believe in the flat Earth just have to set the crack pipe down and walk away slowly.
Maybe.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wizard.
Is that your scientific explanation, John?
I told you. He is cutting edge science right here, Truth Frequency Radio, folks.
But you see, and I don't mean any offense by this, John, at all. Nothing at all. I have nothing but the utmost respect for you. But you see how you resorted immediately to a logical fallacy instead of actually bringing some facts to the table.
Damn.
And that's what we've been programmed to do. Nothing against you whatsoever. But see, what we've been programmed from children to do is to automatically ridicule instead of open our minds and actually start looking for facts. I can feel that fiery stare all the way over here.
I don't know if you brought it up there when you were actually going through that theory, Chris, but what about the Illuminati playing cards?
Card number 134, yes. If you look up, ladies and gentlemen, the Illuminati card game,
right?
I'll look it up right now so I can give you what exactly
I'll post
it says.
the image in the chat.
Okay.
I can't remember who makes the cards, but it's like any collectible card, like Topps. You go to Topps, you can look year by year what number, what player was. It's the same thing with car. Any sort of collectible card has that. Yeah. So you don't have to necessarily buy the whole thing.
This says Flat Earthers, card number 134. People laugh, but the Flat Earthers know something. For their actions, you may roll 2 dice. If your roll is equal to or less than the number of places you control, the Flat Earthers' weird alternate geology has led them to a gold mine, and you may, it's distorted here, you may draw as many plot cards as the number you have rolled.
You see, this is what gets me, because conspiracy theorists all the time will look at the ones with the clock tower and say, well, that was definitely the Japanese earthquake, or anything to do with a virus, or that must be Ebola. But I bet you as soon as we post this picture here, we're not going to buy this one.
It's okay. Nobody has to. And I'm not asking anybody to. And I don't even know if I buy it. I'm just saying that the more that I research, the more doors that start opening in front of me, the more I'm going, oh my God, I think this matrix is a lot bigger than we're actually thinking it is, and that we may actually be living on an artificial soundstage.
So God is basically a prepubescent child sitting in front of his galactic or universal flat screen high definition plasma television, and he's playing Xbox, and we're just a bit in the universal programming. I don't believe that.
Do you remember the line from Constantine that Keanu Reeves said? He said, God is a child with an ant farm.
I can identify with that.
Yeah. God is a child with an ant farm.
Interestingly enough, I'm actually burning that movie as we're talking. I swear to God, I'm burning 2 DVD copies of that movie as we're talking right now. Copyright? What's copyright?
I don't know. It's something to look into, something that it's so outlandish and so heavily ridiculed that the first million times I heard it, I just shrugged it off. But then the millionth and one, I said, okay, I'm going to look into this with an open mind. And once I did, just all of a sudden one door, even Cherie was like, oh my God, you're crazy. You're not actually going to talk about this, are you? And I said, well, why not? Why can't we talk about the stuff that we've come across? Whether it's true or not, let's just talk about it. If we don't have an open discussion about it, we're never going to get to the truth of anything.
Because of the term flat Earth. That's why.
Right, exactly.
No, it's because I'm being serious when I say it. It's because
you're right.
of the use of the term. It's like the pejorative conspiracy.
It's a heretic term.
Well, yeah, it's like, oh my God, you're one of those people that believes in conspiracy. So just because I don't believe the Earth is flat doesn't mean I can't have a conversation with someone that thinks it is. I mean, that's ridiculous to think that you couldn't have a debate with someone that has a difference of opinion, because that's what that is.
God forbid.
Oh my God, someone with a different opinion? What will I do next?
To the 4 corners of the earth, to the edge of the earth. That kind of rhetoric has been in our vocabulary since the beginning of time. And then all of a sudden, when it changed at some point, and we said, "Oh no, it's not the edge of the earth anymore. You can go
So
round and round and round and round."
Are you going to change? Are you going to chase the truth to the edge of the earth, Chris? On the subject,
You know, if I had the resources, I would get on a plane right now and just start flying in one direction and see what happens.
you'd eventually end right back up.
You'd run out of gas.
Well, yeah, that would probably happen first. Chris would be like, "Hey, how are we doing? We're doing low on fuel. That's how we're doing."
Didn't make it.
Well,
So-
this is just this is so fascinating to me because this is a game changer if it's true. If we're falling victim to this type of deception, holy crap! This
Johnny
changes
King.
the whole playing field.
Well, you can get in a boat in Panama and travel east and cross the South Atlantic, go around Africa, and end up back in the western part of Panama and go through the canal and end up where you first started. If the Earth was flat, you would continue on forever until
And fall off and hit a
you
wall.
until you fell off. You wouldn't be able to circumnavigate.
Well,
Well,
that-
it's not so much falling off, but it's hitting an ice wall, like a huge ice wall that's surrounding.
So the
everything.
water is held in by like we're like a big kiddie pool.
Pretty much. Look at the UN flag.
All right, hold on. We got to go to break.
Marty-
We got to go to break.
Okay.
We'll be right back, though, folks. More to come on the other side of the break here. Freaky Friday. Boys are getting damn freaky here at TruthFrequency.org.
This is Truth Frequency Radio.
The wicked ones obviously under heavy Masonic influence.
Well, I'm going to bring us back in only because nobody. Hi, I'm Joe Joseph, and you're listening to Freaky Friday right here on Truth Frequency Radio, truthfrequencyradio.com, along with my good friends, Chris Gio, Popeye down the rabbit hole, talking about the cornholio effect, and
The
And my good-
effect, you douche.
my good man, Kev Baker, Marty, and Johnny King. So, how's everybody doing?
You could tell Joe was never a shooter.
What's this? I'm hearing you were a mall cop.
No, I'm not like you, Kev.
Are you like a brother in arms? Are you a fellow
No.
fluorescent warrior?
Never. Joe's just jealous because we actually got a chance to go out and do things when I was in the Coast Guard, whereas Joe kind of just sat in a room with a radar.
Actually, I did get my sharpshooter pistol and rifle. However, you know, you typically don't deal with the cornholus effect
only sharpshooter?
when you're using a
Only a
M14 because
Only a
you
sharpshooter?
typically don't have that range that you have to take that into
I know
account.
you guys aren't
Well,
allowed
my
to touch
question-
sniper rifles. You guys
my-
aren't allowed
my-
to do that, so.
My question is, does Coast Guard experience help in the tow truck driving field?
Apparently.
Actually, it depends on
So
what
does shooting.
Popeye
You gotta
sneaking
be,
it.
it depends on
gotta
what
be a sharpshooter to change that tire on the
I
side of the road.
I could
That
have been a
damsel in
state trooper.
distress.
I had a chance after I got out to be a state trooper, and I turned it down because I just didn't want to dress like I was getting ready to invade Poland, and I didn't feel like.
Could
giving
you
up
imagine with the
for
puffy
certain
pants?
society.
With the
Oh,
puffy pants?
Have you ever seen the New Jersey State Police?
Oh, they're horrible. They're
They look
horrible.
like-
They have the worst
seriously.
uniforms of
They
all time.
they're literally they have like Nazi uniform 2.0. They
They're
just
like
need the
pantaloons.
armband. Yeah, they just need the armband.
Yeah, like pantaloons and then wizard sleeves.
Ooh, like a yawning hippo.
Oh my god!
Sorry.
One night early. Oops. Right,
Yeah,
so hang on,
Jesus.
guys. Back to the woo here. Wait a minute. What are we saying then? Let's go. Marty, are you buying into this flat earth theory?
Did you really have to bring me into it?
Don't worry about the fact he's the
Come on.
boss. He promised me he won't sack us if we disagree.
No, I don't
No.
even agree with it 100%.
Sorry.
So, yeah, I'm just looking into it.
No. Short answer.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you
so
very much.
gravity. Let's bring up gravity, for instance, because this is a big thing that people bring up. However, according to NewYorkTimes.com and the scientist named Eric Verlinde, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, Eric Verlinde, he says, a physicist is saying that gravity doesn't exist, it never has existed, and it's all been one big illusion. So now we have mainstream respected physicists coming out and saying the physics that we have told people for decades now, if not hundreds of years, if not thousands of years, is fraudulent, and we're completely wrong about it.
John King, are you there?
Yes, I am here, and I believe that the physicists should stay out of philosophy and stick to physics. They think that gravity is an interdimensional thing. They don't think that it comes from this dimension. When you take into the effect the size of the human body compared to the size of the Earth and the speed at which the Earth rotates, it should generate more gravity, and you should actually be about as flat as a pancake. But you're not, because gravity is a weak force. And they're thinking that gravity is leaking through the universal bane from another dimension into this one, and that's why it's not as strong as it should be.
According to physicists, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the law of gravity is that because we're spinning, we're basically we have gravity because of that. Is that incorrect?
Yeah, we have gravity because of our spin, our rotation, I should say. It's like some of those amusement park rides. You may have ridden one where you get in, you go up against the wall, it starts spinning, the floor drops out, and you're suspended 4 feet in the air. Same thing.
Okay.
Like centrifugal force, John.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the
I think
word
it's
I was looking
centripetal.
for. Yeah, that's
I
the
think
word
we're
I was
actually
looking
looking
for.
for centripetal force when you talk about gravity, not centrifugal. Centripetal. Yes.
Any way it goes, but physicists are saying that doesn't actually exist. So maybe they're right, maybe they're wrong. I don't know. But see, you just keep on piling like another piece of wood on the fire and another piece of wood on the fire, and you're going, oh my God, this fire is getting pretty big now.
But when you start getting close to the truth, wouldn't a defensive tactic be to throw out some misinformation?
Yes. Very, very well could be, yes. Or to use ad hominem attacks.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Ad hominem attacks is always the best way to solve issues and win debates. I come to find.
Yes, I'm good at that.
Yes.
John's casting a spell on me right now. I can feel it.
Yeah, just if he's got it, you can normally hear the chicken foot rattle going.
I know. I'm sorry.
That's
John,
not
I'm
a spell,
sorry.
Chris. That's not a spell, Chris. That's Kev Baker's hand.
Oh, well.
I seem to be the butt
hidden
of all
hand.
jokes tonight. What is happening?
The hidden hand of the Scottish Rite.
Yeah.
Oh.
So are we? So have we? Jesus. Have we? Is this? It
Chris
is Saturday
Flat
in
Earth
the UK.
Geo, ladies and gentlemen. Chris Flat Earth Geo.
Chris Flat Earth Geo Scott Lopez, please to the office, please. Scott Lopez.
Scott Lopez to the main
Oh,
office.
great.
Scotty Lopez to the main office.
Yes.